Welcome back to the podcast, guys. Today we are going to have a really cool episode. We're going to talk with Kyle Suzak. He has done a fix and flip, and he's currently working on a buy and hold that he's doing rent by the room. He has done a great strategy in order to build some equity here in the Denver, Colorado market. So you're going to want to stay tuned. Make sure you ask questions and subscribe down in the comments. And let's get to the episode. In real estate, first impressions can make or break a deal. Whether you're listing a home for sale or marketing an investment property, having high quality photos are key at grabbing attention. If you want to stand out in the competitive Colorado Springs market, having high quality photos is essential. And Wayne over at Homadi excels at getting the best possible photos for your property. He is based right here in Colorado Springs and specializes in capturing properties in the best light. If you're ready to take your property photos to the next level, make sure to contact Wayne over at Homadi and mention you heard about him from Tanner at Red and Joy Real Estate to get 20% off your next shoot. Remember, great photos can make the difference between a quick sale and a stale listing. So make sure to contact Wayne over at Homadi today. Kyle, thanks for joining me on the podcast. I'm excited to have you here. We just got back from BPCon. It was a great experience. So how you doing?
I'm pretty good. It's good to see you. I think I've only met you twice in person, and it was
Yeah.
both times at BPCon, which is probably
Yeah.
the best place to meet somebody.
It's crazy how the people that you meet at BPCon and kind of seeing each other's journeys and where people go and do in real estate is really cool. And I think probably one of the better parts of like Bigger Pockets conferences and just networking in general. But give us a little bit of background on you and where you live and kind of what you're working on right now.
Yeah, so I live just north of Denver, Colorado, town called Firestone, kind of close to Longmont. So right now I work in construction. I'm a project engineer. I kind of started right out of high school. Got sent. I worked on the concrete crew. Kind of learned that. Kind of worked my way up into a more and more valuable position, which has kind of been my main goal, and getting paid more so I can buy more real estate and do cooler things. So yeah, that's my full-time job. It's probably a 50-hour a week commitment. Plus a lot of drive time, so I don't have a lot of free time. Um,
Do you find that
and
having your job is helpful for owning properties? And do you do a lot of like the handyman stuff on your properties, or do you prefer to hire that out?
yeah, so that's actually how I got started. My first deal was a fix and flip, and I come from a background of like a construction family. My dad's done a bunch of fix and flips. My uncle, my grandpa, it's DIY, whether it's a flip or their own homes. So that's been super helpful. And then, yeah, my job has just kind of given me one more step up in terms of knowledge for taking on projects of my own and real estate.
So this first property that you end up doing a deal on, give us a little bit of background about where it is, how you found it, and what your plan was for your exit strategy.
Yeah, so I found it. I actually bought it from a wholesaler. It was in Aurora, Colorado. It was like the cheapest thing the wholesaler had sent in the last like 6 months. I didn't have a lot of cash. At the time, I had about 25 grand saved up, just from working my butt off. So yeah, I bought it from a wholesaler for $185,000. I raised the money from my parents. I think I convinced them to get a HELOC, pull a HELOC on their house. And so the deal was they paid cash for the property, and all the money I had saved up, I used for the rehab, and then sold it. They got they got their money back, and then I got the rest. So
Hmm.
that's how it was financed.
Awesome. What were
Yeah.
the terms like that you had with your family? And were they like up for it right away, or did you have to like slowly work them into being willing to partner with you on this deal?
Um, they're kind of both. They were up for it right away, but that's because I had shown probably a year or a year and a half worth of interest in real estate, and like I spent all my time learning about it. I listened to Bigger Pockets podcasts religiously, like to and from work. It was all self-education. So when I did it, they were ready. The only part they were weird about was buying from a wholesaler because it's hard for somebody who doesn't invest to understand how a wholesale deal works, and it feels a little bit scammy. But other than that, it didn't take a lot of convincing because I did that, you know, the year before, pretty much.
Yeah. So how much money did you have saved up in order to do the rehab portion? And how was the process? Or did you do the rehab? Did you find contractors? And how was the process of getting estimates for all that?
Yeah, I did most of the work myself, with the exception of I paid somebody to texture the walls for me, and then somebody installed countertops for me. Other than that, did everything myself. It cost, so I had 25 grand saved up. Yeah, I think it took just about all that, all the cash I had to do the rehab on the property. But cool thing was, it was a two bed, two bath condo. It was just like a cosmetic flip. It took me like 6 weeks from start to finish, and then another 2 weeks to sell it because somebody bought it cash. So I was all in, um, 2 months, and I think I made 25. I netted 25 grand after I sold it. So after
Wow.
all expenses, paying back the debt, 25 grand, 2 months. It was cool, but you look at other fix and flips, and it wasn't a home run by any means. And
Hmm.
I had a couple scares along the way, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
What
we
kind of
were
scares?
yeah, so I bought it in Aurora, which there's a lot of nice places in Aurora, but there's also not a lot of nice places. This was probably on the scarier side of town. When I was getting through almost to the end, there was a shooting on the front step. Like, a person got shot of my condo, and like I showed up the next day, and there was caution tape around,
Oh no.
like, my front door. It was horrible. There was like bullet holes in cars. It was a little bit scary.
Oh my.
Yeah, so that's a good story I like to tell. Other than that, I
So when you saw that, what was your like emotions? Were you like, "Oh no, what did I get myself into? Like no one's gonna want to buy this property." What were you
I
thinking?
you know now that I think about it, I probably should have thought that, but realistically, I didn't. Like, I was so sold on, making money through real estate that, and it was at a time where, like, those things would get listed and sell immediately. Like, they'd go under contract within a couple days. So I wasn't, too worried about it, fortunately. But the other thing that happened was, nobody there wasn't a way to tell when I bought it, but, um, a couple of the complexes in that area had plumbing issues, and so there was a flipper who bought one same time as me, just about the same time as me, and like almost same everything, purchase price, rehab. It was just cosmetic, but his plumbing, like, it just acted up. Like, the building's main sewer line was clogged up or something, and he ended up getting stuck. Like, he couldn't sell the property. I watched it for months and months, and he couldn't sell it because nobody wanted to buy something with plumbing issues. The HOA there was bad, so they didn't have any money to take care of anything. So
Mm,
fortunately, my unit didn't have those issues, but it was like a lesson learned that you don't really hear from a lot of people. Like, if the inspection report comes out good, you're usually safe, but it wasn't like
yeah.
that in this case.
And with wholesalers, it's tricky because oftentimes they don't let you do an inspection. You're just buying it as is, all cash, and you're taking it with all the issues that are coming up. So if there is a sewer
Yeah,
line problem, you like have to deal with that. You can't just like be like, oh, it'll be fine. The next person will have to deal with that problem. It doesn't always work that way.
that's totally something. I like that you said that because, the wholesaler I bought it from it was New Western, which, if you don't know, it's like a big company, and,
Yes, they
I
are.
don't necessarily like going through them.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I literally showed up to the property. They had like a showing, and you had an hour to like submit a bid, and they sell it to the highest bidder. It's really weird, but, Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I had an
And
hour to look at
if you're
it.
planning to get photos done on your next listing or rental property, don't forget to reach out to Wayne with Homani to get 20% off your next shoot. And my experience was very similar on a property that I went to look at through New Western, and they put a lot of pressure on you during that hour of like, we have other people interested. The first person to bring us earnest money gets it, and so it's like you're really, really getting pressed on getting forced into making a decision that you may not have made if you took the time to fully analyze it and be like, okay, is this the right thing to do? Do the numbers make sense?
Yeah, it's scary. You kind of have to know what you're doing. I definitely got a little bit lucky, especially because like I sold it right at the peak of the market. It started to slow down like the month after I sold it. But
Was
yeah,
this
if you're not doing
2021
your
to
due diligence,
2022?
yep, I think I sold it in May 2021, if I remember correctly. So yeah, it was right there at the peak.
Yeah, sweet. So what was the rehab process like? Did anything else come up that kind of put any hairs in getting it onto the market as soon as possible?
You know, since it was so small, I didn't have a whole lot of hiccups in the process. I other than I thought it was going to cost me 15 grand to rehab, and it cost me 25, which was well over budget. But also during the process, I when I bought it, the comps were showing that I'd sell it for like 230, and I ended up selling for 250. So I lost that budget, but I made it back because the market was appreciating so fast. So I got
Mm-hmm.
a little bit lucky there. Otherwise, doing some of the work, I learned that I don't like doing that, even though I have a background that says I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my thing. And kind of from there out, I said, I'm gonna hire out as much as I possibly can, where it's budget friendly, because it's just my brain doesn't work that way. It's not easy.
When you were putting it back on market, once you did all the fixes, um, and it were that you get multiple offers during this time period, since I assume it was at the peak of the market, or multiple people interested, and it kind of had a bidding war on the property.
Yeah, so I think I had a lot of people interested. I think I was under contract within 4 or 5 days, but I had a lot of I had an offer for like 285, but it was contingent on financing, and that was kind of when we found out that financing for that specific complex wasn't super easy to get. Um, and then I had a cash offer for 250, and I decided that that'd be better to take because we were pretty confident that um, financing was going to fall through, and I was going to be another months of holding costs down the drain, month or two, and lose out on everything. So
Mm-hmm.
it was hard to pass up cash.
Yeah. When you were first analyzing a deal or this deal, did you put any type of a buffer in your like, okay, if we don't get it at the 230 number, I at least want to at least sell it for like 220, or what were you estimating that you were gonna sell it at when you were running your numbers?
Yeah, so estimated I was going to sell it at 230 with like a 15 or $20,000 profit, which was pretty lame, but I I didn't really put a buffer in there because I was so like I I wanted to quit my job and do real estate full time, and so I was like, all right, worst case scenario, I'm gonna lose 5 or 10 grand on this, but then I have the experience. So maybe that's not the right way to do it, but I my buffer was just willing to lose money, I guess, which there's good and bad about that.
Yeah,
Fortunately, it went well.
I think that your first deal never is like a home run or super fantastic, but it teaches you a lot of lessons that you learn for going into your next deal, or just, for having experience to have partners that will trust you at the end of the day for on another venture throughout real estate. For your
Totally.
After this one, you took those profits and you found another deal that you put it into. Was that the game plan of once you did this flip into transfer it into another property?
So actually, that wasn't really the game plan for me. I never wanted a house hack. I just like I don't love the rent by the room. I didn't love the rent by the room thing. Now I think it's awesome. Little foreshadowing there, but I wanted to just buy rental properties like with DSCR loans, 20% down, and just something that cash flows, and just keep doing that. Kind of like the Burr method, just keep rolling into the next property. But I found out after I picked out a couple properties, DSCR lenders were like, "Hey, we're not going to lend to you unless you have a primary residence," which I didn't know. I found one that would lend to me, but their interest rates were like 2% higher than everybody else's, and it was making almost impossible to find a deal. So I decided, all right, I'm gonna start looking for a house hack. So fast forward, I think it was about a year after I sold the condo, year and a half actually. November of 2022, I found a single family home in Firestone, Colorado, which is a mile from where I've lived all my life. It needed some work, but it was just perfect. Like it was close to me. I've grown up there, family's all there. Like everything about the property was perfect. I thought. So I ended up buying it. Kind of getting into the numbers here. I was maxed out on my DTI, so I had a cosigner. My mom co-signed on the loan for me, and even then, the DTI was maxed out. So I was trying to put 5% down on purchase price was 425,000. Tried to put 5% down, and the mortgage broker came back to me and he was like, "You're maxed out. We need 10% down if you're going to make this work." So ended up, I had like 50 grand saved up at the time, and I spent all of it at the closing table because on top of having to put 10% down, I then had to buy down the interest rate just to hit the DTI qualifications. So looking back, it was a bad deal for a house hack. Most people house hack, they want to go low money down, high leverage. This one, it just didn't pencil out that way. But once again, I was like, I gotta go somewhere. So pulled the trigger, which kind of leads into one of the big mistakes I made, which was buying a house and then having nothing in the reserves. A month or two in, I was out of the country and my hot water heater broke, and I had guys living there, and I had no choice but to pay a company like 5 or 6 grand to come in and fix it. And
Dang.
so I put it on a zero interest credit card.
Yeah.
It took a while to pay it off. It wasn't ideal. So yeah, that was something I wouldn't recommend doing again. But once again, learning.
What was
Um,
the year of the water heater?
I don't even remember. It was weird. It wasn't a standard water heater. It was like a
Oh,
like insta. It was an Instahot.
it was like a tankless water heater.
Yeah, it was a tankless
Okay.
Instahot. But the problem
Got it.
was it was big enough for like a one bedroom apartment, and they had it hooked up to run this whole 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom house.
Yeah.
So
Dang.
yeah, I was working too hard, and it just
Uh-huh.
burned out. So
Yeah. So did you?
realistically, probably should have been caught on the inspection.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask if they just didn't check it on the inspection or didn't mention that it was too small.
No, they definitely didn't catch that it was too small, but it was like they probably just I got unlucky because like half the time the water would be hot and half the time it wouldn't. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think the inspector just got lucky, I guess.
hmm Yeah. Dang. Um, and a hot water system is a lot more expensive than like a normal like a tank hot water heater because I had to replace mine and that was only like $2,000 in Colorado Springs, but I know the tankless ones are a lot more expensive, but they do last a lot longer. So now that you do have one, it will ideally last you for quite some time.
Yeah, well, I replaced it with a regular tank hot
Oh,
water
you
heater.
did?
Looking
Okay.
back, I don't know why it was so expensive. It probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah. Huh. Did you only go to one person for an estimate?
I think I went to a couple, but I was so last minute and like you
Yeah.
said, out of the country. So
Mm-hmm.
I think they probably saw that and took advantage of me a little bit. So
Yeah.
yeah, looking back, it was not a good deal.
Mm-hmm. Dang, yeah. That's unfortunate. So, did you do any type of rehab to this property once you bought it, or just got people living in there right away?
Yeah, I had one uh one person move in like right after I closed. Um and kind of while he was getting his stuff in, I actually had my dad over there helping me basically fix some electrical problems at the house. The previous owners claimed to be electricians, but they had some really unsafe stuff.
Mm.
And fortunately, my dad saw it and he was like, "This is not safe. Like you can't rent this house to people with the electrical as it is." So fortunately, it was just, I mean, he helped me for a couple days and everything was pretty well taken care of. But anyways, I I really like this property because there's an unfinished basement, but it was a lot of square footage. So I kind of right as soon as I saw it, I knew that I could add some sort of living space to the basement. So originally bought the house November of 2022. I had intentions of finishing that basement by December of or November of 2023. That didn't happen. We're in 2024 right now, and I am just now kind of on the downhill slide of finishing that. But yeah, the upstairs is in livable condition. The downstairs, I knew I had to finish to get the property to cash flow. So I can step back really quick and give you numbers. So
Yeah, go for it.
as it was, I got a little bit lucky. When I bought the house, I was using a low money down conventional loan. You're supposed to live in the house for the first year. I actually got sent out of town for work for like the first year and a half of me owning it. So I was like living in a camper down in southern Colorado trying to manage this, which it wasn't hard. I had all three of the rooms rented out upstairs. So with those three rooms, I was making 2350 a month in rental income, but my mortgage payment is $2,990 a month. So it's cash flow negative, but I knew that once the basement was finished, I'd be able to cash be cash flow positive.
Yeah.
So rough numbers on the basement. It's not done yet, but I know that I'm turning it into basically a separate living space, so it'll be an unofficial duplex. The In total, upstairs and downstairs, the house will rent for about $4,000. Um, so with my mortgage being $3,000 a month, other expenses are about 400. I'll cash flow about 600 bucks a month, which isn't great, but I believe in the area, believe in the property.
Sweet.
I
Yeah.
guess that's all.
Is this property, is it zoned for doing the, duplex split?
Uh, Basically, it's not. You can. I could have gotten a permit to make it the basement an ADU,
Mm-hmm.
but the town basically told me that they were going to make it pretty miserable for me if I did that.
Oh, okay.
So I just decided to stick with the basement finish, which has still been
Yeah.
pretty darn miserable to do.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's half the reason it's taken me a year longer than
Mm,
than it
okay.
should have.
Yeah. For the construction of the basement, did you hire someone out to do that, or are you doing that yourself?
Yeah, when I bought it, I had intentions of doing it myself, but once again, going back to the fix and flip, I don't know why I had those intentions because I don't like doing it, and my workload picked up at my job, and now I don't even have the time to do it myself if I wanted to, other than a day on the weekends here and there. So,
Mm-hmm.
fortunately, I can kind of vet contractors. I can kind of spot. I know enough to know if they know what they're doing or not. So I'm hiring it out. I'm not paying one contractor to do everything. I've got my plumber, electrician, kind of
Yeah.
all people that have either been recommendations or that I've had do small things here and there. So that's working out really well. Um, but there are a lot of people who are out there to scam you if you're going to do something like that. So I'd be careful about it. But as of now, everything's worked out pretty darn well.
Yeah. For this one, how did you do the financing of the rehab? Did you just kind of save up cash in order to do it, since you put, your whole entire savings into doing the down payment on it?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's called business credit card stacking.
Yeah.
So I've got uh, a 0% $100,000 line of credit for a year. So that expires in May of next year. I'll start having to pay interest on that if I still have a balance. Fortunately, I'm expecting not to have a balance. I should be able to refinance the property and cash out enough to pay that balance
Hmm.
off. So
Yeah.
lucky that the numbers work out well enough to do that. But no,
Hmm.
nothing out of my own pocket for this, which is awesome.
Yeah. For the business credit card stacking, I've heard a lot about it. I haven't quite done it. I've done it a little bit for some rehab projects. But to your understanding, how did you do it, and how did you get it to where you had $100,000 credit limit? Is that all on one card, or how did you like get them all kind of crossed over together?
It was on two credit cards. They're both Chase. Um, I ended up paying somebody to who's done it before to help me. So it was expensive. He charged me 5 grand to do it.
Okay.
Um, but within a month of that, I had the $100,000. And caveat to that is you do have to have good credit to be able to do it quick enough. Otherwise, it's a 6 month, maybe a year long process because they're going to take you fix your credit, do all these things before they get your funding. But if
Yeah.
you have a good credit score, and I had an LLC that I used before for that fix and flip, they were just able to kind of plug me into the system and optimize the way I got my funding. So that was
Got
great,
it.
but you kind of have to go into credit card stacking prepared.
Yeah.
But I will say, people hear credit cards and think negatively most of the time,
Yeah.
which credit cards are scary. The reason I was okay with this is because I still have a house, like I have equity in my house. If anything were to go wrong, I think you could go wrong in credit card stacking if you don't have an asset that you're, putting money into or borrowing against, so to speak. That's when I think you might be taking a little bit riskier path. I won't say wrong, but
Hmm.
there's more risk in it than, if I default or can't pay that back, I've got 10%, I've got 40 or $50,000 equity in my home that I can sell and pay that off with. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
um,
Got it.
yeah.
Well, cool. So what are your plans now? You're gonna get this one fixed up and ideally rent it out once you finish the rehab. Do you think you're gonna go into doing more fix and flips or more buy and holds? What's the next strategy?
Yeah. Fix and flips, probably for me. I think I'm in a position where I need a lot of cash. And just because I've done 2 renovation projects, I've got a network that I'm fairly confident in. I've got a support system. I think that I'm just a little bit farther ahead than a lot of other people in the fix and or maybe in the rehab game. That my next unfair advantage could be in fix and flips. So only thing I don't have is a way to find deals because I don't want to buy from New Western again. But yeah, once this project is done, um, which should be December, I have to refinance the house to get my mom's name off the loan, and then yeah, I'm looking to roll into a couple fix and flips. to stack up cash, and then ultimately, not real estate related, I'm gonna buy a business. So that's kind of where my career's moving, but real estate's gonna get me there.
Hmm. Sweet. Are you liking Colorado and Denver as your main market, or would you go into another market to kind of start fixing flipping there?
There's no way I'd go to another market. I think, you know, being a high cost of living area, I'll, there's a lot of stuff working in your favor. And I know that sounds weird. Most people don't like that, but, um, you know, Colorado appreciates better than everywhere else. There is, our average home purchase price is like 500,000 or 550 or something crazy.
Yep.
You probably know
Mm-hmm.
it, but um, because of that, there is a higher barrier to entry, and people like you and me who've spent the last 4 years building a network, I'm confident that I've got the knowledge and the ability to go out to my network and raise money to buy these flips. So, an expensive market like Colorado, high barrier to entry, but it makes it just, I think, a little bit easier to um, actually get into. And then, I guess on top of that, Colorado's an amazing place. Like, I don't meet anybody who says they hate Colorado.
Yeah.
It's growing, it's appreciating
Uh,
fast.
yeah.
Um,
And I
and
think,
especially the area that I'm in is growing like crazy.
yeah, Denver just gets like a new suburb just around it, like every other year they just keep growing and keep growing. And Colorado Springs is consistently growing too. I think we're at 750,000 in population right now, and we'll be up into a million in the next probably like 10 to 15 years, I would say is what they have their estimates on. Um, so yeah,
I think that's a
definitely.
great reason behind doing more fix and flipping and investing in
Mm-hmm.
Colorado. Like you and I both, you're south and I'm north, but we're
Mm-hmm.
in the area of expansion for
Yeah.
um, from Denver. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
be tough to go
And
wrong.
people love the mountains too. I mean, there's so much you can do in it all year round that people are constantly coming and people are coming to travel these areas as well. So definitely a good spot to do fix and flips and own real estate.
Yeah, I love the mountains.
Do you have we'll do two more questions here. Do you have a good motivational quote that you like or that has helped you out through your real estate journey?
Yeah, maybe not. I'll switch it up on you a little bit here.
Okay.
Maybe not that's helped me through my journey, but I was actually listening to Alex Ramosi on the way to work this morning,
Nice. I
and
like him.
he's awesome. But it was actually the title of his video. But he said, "Stop trying to get rich, get good." And so the premise of the video was that people are trying to scale, like real estate business, whatever it is, they try to scale really fast. But he kind of metaphored it to a bucket that you're filling with water that has holes in it. And he said, before you try to fill up the bucket to the top, plug the hole first. And it just totally, like he said, get your processes down is what he was trying to get at before you get really big in scale. And it just it's something that hit me today that I thought would be um, good to share.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Sometimes you see people are just trying to make as much money as possible, but then they're also spending so much money in order to do that. So it kind of like doesn't quite fix the overall goal of retaining and keeping a lot of the money you do make at the end of the day to put into your business or grow long-term wealth through real estate.
Yeah, and it translates just not just in business or real estate. Like it's kind of like optimize your life. Like before you
Yeah.
move into something else, like get in shape or start eating healthy, whatever. Like
Hmm.
it's an all around, I think, a good way to think about things that not a lot of people maybe do. I need to work on it. So
Yeah. Sweet. Well, thanks, Cal, for coming on the podcast. If anyone has any questions or wants to connect with you up in the Denver area, where can they find you at?
um probably Instagram. It is Kyle KYLESEWCZAK. Um, Feel free to reach out to me there. or my phone number is 720-418-0133. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, meet up, go for coffee, whatever. So yeah,
Sweet.
thanks for having me on. This is cool. It's fun talking about cool real estate stuff with cool real
Yeah.
estate people.
Sweet. Thanks.